Hello everybody, my name is Parasar Nagarajan and I am the Editor-in-Chief for the International Law Journal of London. We are with His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince of Serbia, Alexander II today. First off, it is a great honor to be here with you today, and we would like to know how your family came into power in Serbia and also why Serbia abolished the monarchy system.
Well, it's very interesting you mentioned that because we were first the Kingdom of Serbia, and then my great-grandfather, King Peter I, became the king of the Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, following the Treaty of Versailles. And this was by mutual consent that they all came together. It was a nice dream to work together, and I'll go fast forward because it takes a long time to explain. But in 1929, my grandfather renamed the country Yugoslavia, so it became the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. It was not Tito who did it, it was King Alexander who did it. And Yugoslavia was a prominent country then too, but one of the big problems was the world economic depression and the rise of fascism, which affected Europe in a big way, and particularly us because King Alexander was invited on a state visit to France, and he was assassinated in Marseille in 1934. And after that, my father became king at the age of 11, was a regent, and there were many situations that evolved. That the regency was run by Prince Paul, and then there was a coup d'etat here, and we entered the Second World War. There was a bombing here by Nazi Germany, and we paid a terrible price. But Yugoslavia then came again, and that's after the Second World War. And I must recognize, even though I was against dictatorship, that a friendship did start, interestingly, with India, with Egypt, but I didn't like Tito too much here because you were sitting in a place doing this interview that was confiscated in 1947. Built by my grandfather. That wasn't very democratic. And at the age of 2 in 1947, my rights were removed. My human rights were removed, nationality. My future was removed. However, the friendship of Yugoslavia was an important one with an online movement, which I do recognize in meeting with these people. I even hosted a lunch here with our foreign minister for the non-alignment movement a few years ago, which was a very nice lunch. And I enjoyed that very much. So our purpose now is to be friends with the non-alignment movement, as we've proven already, and also with the European Union and many other countries of the world.
As your Royal Highness, the Crown Prince of Serbia, what are your daily responsibilities and duties? And are you in touch with the current government in Serbia, such as the Prime Minister and other officials, to influence the government?
Yes, we maintain a close relationship with all the European royal families. We're invited to all their events. And I had my 60th birthday here, and the King and Queen of Sweden came. The Grand Duke of Luxembourg also came, and their heads of state. And we were very positive they came, but we got invited also to their events. Their birthdays, the King of Sweden's birthday, 60th birthday, the wedding of Crown Princess Victoria, and various other celebrations. The same goes with Denmark, the same goes with Spain, the same goes with Luxembourg. So it's all, there are many, many facets of this, there are many facets. United Kingdom, as we mentioned earlier on, is another very close one. Middle East, we get invited to.
What is your opinion on creating a constitutional monarchy in Serbia? Do you believe it would be in the interest of the country and region? I believe there was support for this in 2011 in an online poll conducted within Serbia.
We already have a lot of luck that I've maintained contact with other families, European royal families and Middle East families, and also Far East, mustn't forget that. And this has been a very warm contact. And also with many entities, political entities as a friendship, the United Kingdom, United States, France and Germany, there's always been that contact. I give you an extraordinary story. We had a funeral this year, which was a state funeral for my father, King Peter II. And I got a very nice letter from the President of France. And he's a Republican, but he wrote to me very politely saying this is a wonderful thing that happened and how good our government was to have a state funeral. So there are the friendships with republics. We've had presidents come and stay with us. A very dear friend came. I'm just thinking out of my mind, the president of Iceland came here. We get invited around. So we're all in one ship, as I might say, sailing the seas, and we need each other. We need that very big friendship. Yes, some people behave well, some people behave badly, but this is the way the world works. And I think that if we become a constitutional monarchy again, it would actually be quite good, that it would enhance these relationships in a great way. And we'd like to see more people come to visit us. And as I mentioned earlier on, we don't want firemen to come here. We want people to come here and enjoy their stay, and then when they go to our airport, on the way out, they wave goodbye, they say, we'll be back, we liked it very much. And I think there's a lot that can be done with a constitutional monarchy in that sense. We like to be good hosts.
It's like, I actually like this country very much.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy Belgrade.
Yeah, thank you. Could you explain the details of your family lineage in relation with the British monarchy and any special relationship you may have with the British monarchy today?
Well, we have a tradition there. My father's godfather was King George VI. That's the father of the current Queen Elizabeth. And he was my godfather too. And his godmother was Queen Elizabeth, who died at a very ripe age of over 100 years old. And then my godmother's Queen Elizabeth, as I mentioned, King George VI. Also, we're descendants of Queen Victoria, who was the grandmama of Europe. In addition, Prince Philip is my mother's cousin. So there are various ways into that. And then I was at school in Scotland, in Gordonston, with Prince Charles, and we see each other often. Okay. We're very lucky. We participate in events such as weddings, parties, and also last year there was an amazing event, the Jubilee of the Queen, and my wife and I were guests at Windsor Castle for this Jubilee. And in fact, Katerina can show you a picture, an amazing picture of all these heads of state. And it's a very nice relationship. But not only with the British, but also with other monarchies too. Not only with the European monarchies, but also the Middle East monarchies too.
So that's very great.
It's nice, it's nice. We're all friends.
Okay. So,
it's important to be friends.
Of course. Because I actually started off in medical school.
Did you really?
Yes.
Wow. What changed?
I wanted to do something like law.
Awesome. Very different.
Very different. Many countries have still not recognized this. Do you believe reconciliation would be possible, or it is too late?
Well, we're very sad because Kosovo, you see, is very much in our hearts. It's rather like a Jerusalem to us. And we were very shocked what happened. Of course, our leadership was not that great at the time, and then the involvement in the international community. But this left us in a very bad position today, in that our people in Kosovo are going through a pretty rough time, in the sense that churches have been pulled down, they're prosecuted against, and there's all sorts of horrors. There's no doubt that there is space for everybody to live in harmony and peace, and things can be worked out. So I have to leave it to the government who's working on this, namely the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister, who are in full negotiations. My concern is the well-being of our Serbian people in Kosovo, which is original home of our land, and their future. We respect everybody who lives there, but one thing we cannot tolerate is the violation of human rights against us, and also human rights against everybody else. So I wish our government, who has the most unenviable task, a good conclusion in the negotiations, and I'm watching it every day.
outside any responsibilities in politics that you may have, what are some of your other activities, such as in corporate activities, educational institutions, charity organizations that your family may run?
We're active. I have an education foundation, and I seek scholarships for masters and other type of scholarships. We're very lucky that we got 40 scholarships from Nottingham University in the United Kingdom, a big university, and our students went there and they liked it very much, and they came back and they're in prominent positions. We've also obtained scholarships from other countries such as the United States and Switzerland. Difficult nowadays in view of the economic situation. Many colleges do not want to share too much of their money in giving scholarships, but we're working on it. Also, I've implemented career centers in our state universities. We have 4 state universities. We also have private universities, which is very good, but I implemented career centers, which did not exist before. It's very important that these young men and women meet in the career center and try and work out what's their future in a corporation or contacts, and the career centers have databases, and I visit them often. Also, we have some pretty bright students who get awarded, 550 high school students, and there's a competition for the brightest, and they come here with their parents in June every year. It's a big tradition now. And I award those who have achieved the highest level. And we have found out that the level of competition has gone up dramatically. And it's a great opportunity for these young men and women to meet each other and create a bond and friendship for the future. Now, my wife is involved very much in the humanitarian side. Every hospital in our country, and we have some 50 plus, have received one piece of equipment or more, medical help, and one of the big projects nowadays is medical training. How to bring the doctors up to speed with the latest technology. And there are 2 areas there. There's 2 parts of the world involved there. Texas is involved here with MD Anderson, who are very fine hospital, and they're involved in training radiologists and so on. And also we're involved in New York with Sloan Kettering, which is a very famous hospital. And we also have conferences here in Serbia, which involve Serbian doctors who live here, and also those who live abroad, and our friends, professors and friends from many nationalities who come here and lecture Serbia. It's also a golden opportunity for them to see the country and to get to know the people here too.
What is your opinion on Serbia joining the European Union? Do you believe it would be beneficial for the country and region, and when do you think this will happen?
Well, my personal opinion is that it's very important that we join the European Union. Namely, that Slovenia was the first of the former Yugoslavia to join, and then this year it was followed by Croatia. And then neighbor-wise, well, we have a few like Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania, and then down south, Greece. There's no doubt that unless we join, we might as well move Serbia as an island in the middle of the Pacific. So what we need is a market. There's 28 countries which we can market to. We're asking for them to come and invest to here, and we want to take part in the decision making in Brussels and be recognized as an entity of the European Union. We want to be number 29. And I think this can happen. There's a few things to iron out. So I don't believe that Serbia has a future as an island, isolated. I think it would damage our culture, and it would be very bad for our business, bad for our investors coming here. We're not Monaco, we're not Singapore, we're just a country in Europe aspiring to be part of Europe.
Realizing there is great respect for your family worldwide, historically and currently, how do you foresee the future of the Serbian royal family? Do you believe that it can only come back into power via constitutional reforms, or do you think that you could take unilateral measures to make this happen? Sued him at the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. What do you make of his political and military actions he took in the 1990s?
Well, this is a very tragic period in our history, 10 years of extreme tragedy for all the peoples of the former Yugoslavia. Everybody has suffered. It's a tragedy when our politicians, remember there was one political party, that was the League of Communists. The country collapsed after the Soviet Union and after the Berlin Wall came down. And these leaders decided to use negative religion, negative nationalism, to continue in power. And they knew each other. This is a terrible thing. They knew each other and would drink orange juice together. That was the sort of norm. But they ended up in bitter conflict, and who lost out and paid the price were the people. They were not interested in the well-being of the people. I think we've come a long way since the 1990s here, not only in Serbia, but our neighboring countries, our neighboring former Yugoslav entities. Democracy has progressed, human rights has progressed too. There's some things to iron out, but we're talking about a recent time in history. In our case, we're only talking about since the 5th of October 2000, and so much experience has been gained since then. A lot of things have happened, but what we hope is that this will never happen again. We see a few skirmishes here and there, arguments, but there will be no more conflicts like you've seen before. And this is, again, why we should join the European Union, that we can work out our differences and also get on better with each other. Regarding the previous regime here in our country, there were many games that were played against our people. The international community got involved, and there was a tremendous aggression against us. So that was the bombing, and I was very much against this. It hurt the people. And in fact, prolonged the regime's rule over the country. So we don't want to see that ever again. Now we're in peace. We want to see a better future. I would like to see more investors come here. And we'd like to see our healthcare, social services go up.
What are your feelings on the current president of Serbia today?
This government is working very hard. We just had a new government formed about 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And it's not easy to rule a country that's been through so much, but they're trying hard. And like every government that comes into power, I wish them the best. And it's an envious task, it's a difficult task, but they're trying very hard, and there's been a lot of success with the European Union in negotiations. And I think that the future of the country is secured. There'll be further elections, maybe in the next year or so, but it's important that we have harmony and unity and move forward.
Last but not least, as a born leader, what message would you like to deliver to your viewers and readers, and where we go from here for the nation? Could you explain the prominence of Serbia as a powerful nation in Europe historically, as the former Yugoslavia, and also today?
Well, it's very interesting you mentioned that, because we were first the Kingdom of Serbia, and then my great-grandfather, King Peter I, became the king of the Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, following the Treaty of Versailles. And this was by mutual consent that they all came together. It was a nice dream to work together, and I'll go fast forward because it takes a long time to explain. But in 1929, my grandfather renamed the country Yugoslavia, so it became the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. It was not Tito who did it, it was King Alexander who did it. And Yugoslavia was a prominent country then too, but one of the big problems was the world economic depression and the rise of fascism, which affected Europe in a big way, and particularly us, because King Alexander was invited on a state visit to France, and he was assassinated in Marseille in 1934. And after that, my father became king at the age of 11, was a regent, and there were many situations that evolved. That the regency was run by Prince Paul, and then there was a coup d'etat here, and we entered the Second World War. There was a bombing here by Nazi Germany, and we paid a terrible price. But Yugoslavia then came again, and that's after the Second World War. And I must recognize, even though I was against dictatorship, that a friendship did start, interestingly, with India, with Egypt, but I didn't like Tito too much here, because you were sitting in a place doing this interview that was confiscated in 1947, built by my grandfather. That wasn't very democratic. And at the age of 2 in 1947, my rights were removed. My human rights were removed, nationality. My future was removed. However, the friendship of Yugoslavia was an important one with an online movement, which I do recognize in meeting with these people. I even hosted a lunch here with our foreign minister for the non-alignment movement a few years ago, which was a very nice lunch. And I enjoyed that very much. So our purpose now is to be friends with the non-alignment movement, as we've proven already, and also with the European Union and many other countries of the world.
Okay. And last but not least, as a born leader, what message would you like to deliver to your viewers and readers and the future of the nation?
Well, I'd like to deliver a message of friendship, of hope, of peace, and jobs. What we need in Serbia are jobs. It's so important to invite investors here, to go abroad and canvass for them to come here, and to receive them properly and be organized. Without jobs, we really cannot function. Also, without taking part in decision making in Europe, it's very difficult. So my message is, we're working to become a member of the European Union. We're working on our friendships, not only with the European Union, but as I mentioned earlier on, with the world. We have good diplomatic relations with many countries, and more diplomatic relations will take place. We're happy to have received some investors now. Very happily this year, we've had some investors from the Middle East. We hope to have more, but we also hope to have some from further away too.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.